Hey everybody, we're going to talk about chapter 7, which is your body composition chapter. I'm going to try and keep it brief. Although body composition is very complicated, it is very essential for you to understand the makeup of your body and how to improve it. So the basics of what we are made up of is muscle, bone, fat, and tissue. So those vital tissues like organs and different things of that nature. Now we are also made up of water. We're actually made up 60% of water roughly, but that is not considered tissue. So I just want to clarify those things. Outside of water, you have those four, which is muscle, fat, vital tissue, and bone. So we have different types of fat. So we have essential fat, which is the fat that we need to function. So fat sound in cell membranes, bone marrow, central nervous system, organs, things of that nature. We have to have that fat to survive. You cannot eliminate that fat. You're always going to have that percentage of fat. So storage fat, storage fat is the fat that serves as the energy source, releases hormones and other chemical messengers. It protects our organs. It serves as insulation under the skin. So it is also fat that we need, but very minimal fat that we need. Visceral fat is the fat that's stored between organs and around organs in the abdomen cavity. And the visceral fat is also very unhealthy for you, so you really need less visceral fat. The more fat that you have in and around organs, the more pressure it puts on those organs, and the more pressure it puts on your bones and your joints as well. And then the subcutaneous fat is what you can call kind of the beer gut or the beer belly. That is the fat that lies underneath the skin in between your abdomen cavity and your skin. So that's the cushion. That's what I like to say, that is the protection for your abs. So everyone has abs, everyone has that abdomen cavity, but this is the little cushion that is between the abs and the skin. So storage fat that's just under the skin is your subcutaneous fat, and that is extremely dangerous as, again, it puts more pressure on your organs. It's hard on your back because it's in your stomach alone. So you get that beer belly, you're reaching forward, you're having to lean forward for your weight, or your back or your spine is concaving. So we really want to avoid the subcutaneous fat. Different components. So I mentioned this in the last video that your metabolism is a key part of calories. So metabolism is what is required for you to maintain, for you to be alive. So the process within the body that required maintain functioning. So you have your resting metabolic rate, which is what you have to expend at rest. So when you're sleeping, that's the energy that you expend there. That's your resting metabolic rate. And then your physical activity, that's going to be your daily living and exercise. I am not concerned with the dietary thermogenesis. That's your digesting and processing food. If you take a nutrition class, you'll learn a little bit more in depth about dietary thermogenesis. What's the difference between being overweight and being obese? So there is a big difference. So people can be overweight and still be healthy. So you can exercise and be healthy and still be overweight based upon categories because of height, genetics, all kinds of stuff, muscle mass, anything and everything you can think of, and still be healthy. Obesity is when you're in that category and you are not in a healthy category for the most part. So you can see the different factors affecting body composition. So android is an apple-shaped, gynoid is a pear-shaped. So usually the apple-shaped is postmenopausal women and men. Obviously not men because men don't go through menopause, but that is postmenopausal when women get the round shape. The pear shape is premenopausal women, and that's due to childbirthing purposes. So you carry more weight in your hips because you give birth to children, and you have to have wide hips for that purpose. But once you are no longer of childbearing age, then that weight tends to shift into the mid-region because you no longer need that weight in your hips. Now, by no stretch of the imagination am I saying the weight in your hips is moving up. I'm just saying the hormones that were associated with premenopausal tend to gather in the mid-region. Let's see what else. So Body image issues, you can see the body image issues there. Where does body image come from? So there's a lot of different origins for body image. Take a look at Barbie because Barbie is fascinating. We are changing Barbie to match different ethnicities and race, but we are still seeing the same Barbie size, and Barbie is just disproportionate and gives children or small girls the wrong impression of what they're supposed to look like. There's a lot of pressure on body image as it is with social media, so it's just interesting to see the different dynamics of Barbie versus a real life woman. Now, body composition assessments, this is the key piece of all of this. So what I have in the parentheses are your margin of error, so how reliable they are. BMI, there's a margin plus or 5, 3.5. So what that means, margin of error, is say your BMI is 20. So then that means the margin of error would tell you that you are either about 16.5 BMI or 23.5. That's your range of how accurate the BMI is. And I just want to tell you from an individual perspective as a professor that I despise BMI, and most people within my field and my profession do hate BMI. We don't actually use BMI anymore. The CDC and a lot of different governmental entities use BMI. But I think you will find in your readings that BMI is just inaccurate. BMI does not account for muscle mass, water weight, bone density, anything of that nature. It's just strictly based on how tall you are and how much you weigh and how old you are. So hypothetically, someone who is 5'2" and weighs 160 could be classified as obese, even though that 160 is complete muscle mass. So that's the reason why I despise BMI and I do not use BMI. And I strongly suggest that if you are looking at body composition, that you avoid BMI as well. Body fat percentage is the way to go. And the way that you get body fat percentage is with the last 4 things on that list. So skin fold is not as accurate either. Skin fold is the green pinch mechanism that's in the bottom left photo. That is a very arbitrary way to assess body fat. They do it in multiple different places on your body and then average them. So usually skin fold will be right underneath the arm right here. It'll be on your thigh, and then it'll be on your waist is usually the 3 places that they will check. Sometimes they'll check neck, sometimes, very rarely if you have some neck skin, neck fat there, but those are usually the 3 main places that they will go to for skin fold. The others are your hydrostatic weighing, which is the picture to the top right. You get in water and your body is displaced by the water, so then it spouts out information about your body fat being displaced in the water, bone density, etc. The bioelectrical impedance analysis is also a very tool. It is the handheld device or something that you stand on, and it has margin of error that's pretty good. So it displaces body fat through electrical analysis. It doesn't shock you or anything like that. I don't want you to think that. But that is what I use, and that's what we would be using if we were doing a health assessment pre and post in this class. The air displacement, that's a bod pod. So air displacement is a bod pod. It looks just like an egg figure, and those displace you in air, essentially. So everything's displaced by the air, so your body fat, bone density, water, all of those things are gravitational pulls through air. And then DEXA, which is the bottom right photo, does a body scan, essentially. So it's doing a scan and giving you the body fat, bone density, things of that nature. And you can see that the DEXA and the bod pod are probably more reliable. The bioelectrical impedance analysis is all the way up to 6.3 margin of error, so it can be extremely reliable, but it just depends on the device and how accurate those are. So air displacement and DEXA are certainly the ones that you should rely on if you're going to do body composition. And like I said, I want you to pay close attention. Bioelectrical impedance analysis is like the handheld device. And then the air displacement is like the bod pod. It looks like an egg. So I want you to look in your book about recommended body fat percentage and what you should see for an athlete. Look at the ranges on that. You cannot do spot reduction for weight loss in one target area. That just does not work. You cannot say I'm going to lose fat in my stomach. It doesn't work that way. You lose weight all over and you can't control where you lose it. If you want a healthier snack, look for things that have small bits of protein in them. So apples and peanut butter are a good option. If you have any questions about body fat percentage, or you might be curious about your body fat, just shoot me an email and I'm happy to help.